All right, my honors geometry. Again, you chose honors, so here we go. Couple extra things with this conditional statements section. So first off, we need to talk about this word negation. So when you negate something, basically you're saying the opposite of that statement. So again, I don't care about the symbolism, but I care about the idea of it's like not something. That word not is very important, okay? So because we're talking about negations, there are two more types of conditional statements that we're going to talk about in the next slide that involve negation. So if you remember the top two from the first video, conditional is what you start with, converse is where you exchange the hypothesis and the conclusion from the conditional. So now the two new ones are the inverse and the contrapositive. So the inverse negates both the hypothesis and the conclusion of the conditional. So it's related to the conditional, it just is the negation of both parts of the conditional. Whereas the contrapositive negates both the hypothesis and conclusion of the converse. So from the conditional, right, from the one statement, I can write a converse, an inverse, and a contrapositive, okay? And again, notice here, over in the example, so for the inverse, it's in the same order as the conditional, but just notice this says, this says not equal to, right, not equal to, and this says angle A is not acute. So the contrapositive, just like the converse, same order, but now it says not acute and not equals. So again, just throw in the words not in there somehow. All right, so let's take a look at an example here. Okay, so here's our example. It says, write the inverse and contrapositive of the given conditional statement. If 3 points are on the same line, then they are collinear. Be sure to label the inverse and contrapositive in the answer box below. So again, if I look here, I need the inverse and the contrapositive. So if you remember this problem from the other video, we already did the converse. So the inverse, right, the inverse is related to the conditional statement. So it's the same order, but you're just going to negate things. The contrapositive is related to the converse, where you're going to flip the order, okay? But again, still negate. So let's do this here together. All right, so down here, when I say label, so let's write the word inverse and let's put a colon. All right, so what's the inverse going to be? Well, it's the same order as that conditional, just negating both parts of it. If 3 points are not on the same line, okay, then they are not collinear. Simple, easy peasy, right? Just throw the words not in both parts. For the contra, I always do contrapositive. So now we're going to flip the order and negate them. So again, without the converse, you don't have it specifically in front of you, but basically just take the inverse and write it backwards. If 3 points, again, not they, if 3 points are not collinear, then they are not on the same line. And that's all you're doing here for your inverse and your contrapositive. This should say same line, not lines. Again, just be careful. Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. Good luck on this one.